Okay, today is January the 13th, Thursday, and it's 9 o'clock, and we're here in the City Hall Conference Room, number 155, and my name is Maria Clemson, and we're going to go ahead and call our Election Commission meeting, our January organization meeting to order. And to my left is
Norma Sullivan,
Jean Abel,
Peggy Baumeister,
Alice Hanley,
and
Seth Coombs,
Amanda Moser,
Shayla Matthew.
Chaplain Duke, Deputy Clerk.
great. Do we have any old business? I notice on our agenda, I don't see any old business that we have, so we'll go ahead and continue. Our new businesses, the first thing we need to do is elect the chair, vice chair, and a timekeeper. So I'd like to open that up for nominations at this time.
and nominate Maria as the chair.
I second the nomination.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Okay. All those opposed? So that carries. For vice chair, we'd like to open that also up, and I'd like to nominate Barbara Mishner. She did accept, even though she's not here today. So all,
I say second. Say
okay,
that.
great. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All those opposed? So that also carries. As timekeeper, I'd like to nominate Norma.
I've been doing this for a long time.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. All those opposed? None, so that also carries. Thank you. The next information that we have I'd like to welcome our new members and introduce them also. And what we talked about earlier is say a little bit about each other so that you can kind of get to know us as well as having us familiarize ourselves with you two ladies. We have Alice Braumeister.
It's Peggy
Peggy.
Baumeister.
Peggy Baumeister.
Yeah.
And Alice Hanley. So why don't we start with you, Alice? Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
I've been a resident of Anchorage since 1971, and I served on the school board back many years ago, I think 81 to 84, and then 6 years in the legislature. And I also served on the Public Utilities Commission for 6 years. So, but I guess my main qualification is I've also worked at the polls and enjoyed working on elections, both state and municipal. So when I was invited to join the commission, I thought, you know, this would be the place I'd like to serve. So,
Thank you.
I'm Peggy Baumeister. We moved up in 1969. I also have worked the elections forever. I have 3 children, 4 grandchildren. I taught school for 3 whole years. I was a math teacher. And I'm very honored to be in this commission.
Thank you.
My name is Jean Abel, and worked the 1 precinct for the 2008 national election at the precinct level. Worked last year here at the commission. So, wife, mother, active out there in the community.
And my name is Maria Clemson, and I've been here in Anchorage for 10 years, and I came from California, and I worked in the criminal justice system in California for several years, and retired from there, also mother, and have worked the elections on a local level also. Thank you.
Oh, I was listening to you. I'm Norma Sullivan, and I've been on the commission board for my 3rd term. But I've been working elections for about 22 years, something like that. And the polls were sometimes.
Oh, we're doing this too.
Sure.
I'm Jacqueline Duke, Deputy Clerk. I've been in the clerk's office for 5, almost 6 years. hospitality before that. And before that, I was in hospitality. And I've lived here my whole life.
Shayla Matthew. I've worked in the clerk's office for the past 3.5 years, but I've worked elections for 6.5 years. And been in hospice since 1996.
Amanda Moser. I came last year as the elections assistant and now full-time in the clerk's office as the business license clerk and minutes clerk. And I've been working in both the state and municipal.
Seth Coombs. I started as the election assistant. I've worked with state elections and I've been in Alaska for about 5 years.
Okay, great. And Jim, good morning.
Yeah, sorry I'm late.
That's okay. Do you need a package? Yeah. We'll pass it to her.
Thank you. I'm Jim.
Um,
Are we introducing?
Yes, we are. So we'll let Jim, I'll just introduce our new members to you. Peggy Baumeister
Hi, Peggy.
and Alice Hanley.
Hi,
Morning.
Alice.
And Jim Stevens, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. This is my second year on the commission, and I'm a retired hospital chaplain. Worked at Providence Hospital for 21 years, and was in a pastoral role before that. Worked the elections up at Golden View for several years before, and I had a friend in the clerk's office that suggested my name, so I'm happy to be here.
Good, good, thank you. As you can tell, we've got quite a diverse group and a very wonderful diverse group. So I think it'll be real good. It'll be real nice to work with each other, and I think you'll enjoy the experiences. I think Jean and Norman can tell you we have. We had some revisions in the manual, and so on our agenda it does indicate that we have a revised manual. There are some new changes that we made. We're not going to go through them now. I'll let you go through them at your own time later on. You can take a look at what we did, but I think if Jean and Norma, you can take a quick look. You'll see that it's much clear in terms of the way that Jacqueline and Amanda and her staff and everybody has Shaylin and everybody. I don't know, Seth, if you were a part of it, but if you were, thank you. It's wonderful. I love the layout. Before it was like a manuscript that went on and on and on. It was sort of difficult to.
We know.
Oh, you do? Oh, did you? Okay, well, good. Then you know that this is really very nice. I don't think we need to go through it now.
No, but if you have further suggestions, I think it's always a work in progress. Manuals.
Yeah.
Especially since you're joining the commission now. Really, you have a bird's eye view, and you've never, if you haven't done it versus witnessed it. Let us know.
Yeah.
If something's unclear.
So take a look at it, and if there's any changes that you feel that we need to make, we can always just change a few things, but I think it's really very nice. So you guys are all to be complimented on it. I really like the layout. Let's go ahead and take a look at our calendar. That's the main, one of the main reasons for our meeting at this time is to take a look at what the election calendar is going to be for this year. And so we do go through that a little bit more thoroughly and take a look. You'll
notice there's two calendars. There's the calendar that goes out to the public, everyone, that has the code references and main events and what we live by. And then there's also another calendar in there that has training dates and some internal events, which we're going to continually add to. And that's the one that's been printed out of Outlook and has the different colors or shades. So we could probably go over the municipal calendar that has the seal on it first, and then talk about training dates, which are reflected on the other calendar behind it.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and lead us through that?
Okay. Last day to submit initiative petitions, of course, is already passed. introduction of ordinances for the ballot. That is soon. We're going to post our notice of vacancies on the 28th. Filing for office, we're all ready for that to happen. Final action, most of this is pretty clear cut. Let's see, filing for office closes on the 11th. Clerk's office takes care of all of this paperwork. We take care of all of our postings. We are going to continue to do that in the paper, even though city code passed an ordinance, or we passed an ordinance that says we can post online versus in the paper, but we felt that people rely on the paper heavily for election information. So we're going to continue to post that in the paper, regardless. The notice of the election, of course, is posted on the 19th, and you'll notice on the right-hand side it notices the code site in our municipal code, and then also the reason why the 45 days, 49 days, etc. is 45 days prior to the election. That's the day we have to post that ad or do that action. That's what that means. March 6th, notice of bond and deadness. On the 16th, we will post all of the polling places. None of the polling places have changed this year, and that's why you have a list in there of every polling place and absentee place and the times that they'll be open and available to the public. Same thing this year, we have City Hall, Lusac Library, Chugach Senior Center, and the airport and UAA on election day. The Chugach Senior Center is once again, like last year, going to offer all ballot styles. 2009 and before did not offer all ballot styles. The last day to request a ballot by mail or fax is March 29th. We're going to have the same processes for absentee by mail. 4th, which is the day before the election, we'll put out the notice of election polling places once again. And of course, voting day is on the 5th. So within that, if you look on the next election calendar that's more internal, we've established the 9th, 10th, 6th, that does not make sense. So those are times. The 11th, 12th, 14th, and 15th is our training days. So that's a Friday, Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday, I think.
Where's this?
You're looking straight at it. It's right there, and it's multiple days, yeah. So 11th, 12th, 14th, and 15th, it should reflect training, election training.
It says 14th and 16th.
Oh, well, then it's
Monday and
16th.
Wednesday.
Okay, but the training is 11, 12.
It might be missing the 16th because I added
We're
that day.
talking March, right?
Yes. So we always hold training 2 to 3 weeks prior to the election. We have to do it before absentee locations open up. We try to do it before absentee. There's pros and cons to that. People forget things. But
Do you have another packet that has that on the back? Mine is blank on the back.
here.
Blank, yeah, blank.
Yeah, mine's blank too.
Yeah, I got the next page. Yes, third page, but not the second page.
Yeah, we have 4 training dates.
Somebody else is with
I don't think the 4th one is on your calendar because we added it.
It actually is. I
Okay,
just
good.
see it now.
Chair
11,
doesn't
12,
have
14,
it.
16.
Thank you.
If there's something missing, you can get it to you.
Okay. But it is March 11th and then the 12th through the 14th.
Yeah, it's not on Sunday, basically.
11, 12.
And they're at scattered times.
And the times are, oh.
And
so
they're
you've
on
got-
there.
Okay.
9 on the 11th, 1 on the 12th, 6 p.m. on the 14th. I think it was 12 on Tuesday.
So you've got, okay. Usually, the way that works is we're here the whole time and we'll meet in a room and we'll show you on the way out. I showed you, Peggy, but I'll show you on the way out where the room that we usually do. Same place now. Where we.
Oh, yeah, there's an elections conference room, and that's where all of the commission performs their business.
And we'll
So
show
we're kind of skipping ahead.
So it's not at the Lusac Library?
That's where training is. She's kind of skipping
Oh,
ahead.
yes, I'm sorry. You're right, you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So we
okay.
have election training
So we
these
have-
days.
The
and-
training is as it is in the book?
Yes, it's at the
Yeah.
Lusac Library.
All right.
And commission members do attend training and assist in some ways. We haven't discussed, training is going to be different than last year. I don't know if you were at the municipal training last year or not. However, it will be different again. And I don't know exactly what capacity the commission members will, because we haven't decided everything, but commission members do attend training. Doesn't mean that every commission member needs to be at every training, but we will communicate that. So after training, then we do hold the election. Now, as far as what you guys do, Marie, you can go over that, and it's in your manual when you come in. But when you do come into City Hall, everyone meets down in the election conference room, and that's what she was expressing. So, just got one step ahead of me, that's all. That's okay.
Maybe that's something that we need to discuss now and decide. In years past, before I came to work at the commission, the commissioners were up on the stage and participated as a group and gave feedback if as needed. But mainly the municipal clerk staff did the training, and we would just sit at a table and give any feedback. Last year, the commissioners sat in the audience, and we were introduced, and that was the extent of our involvement. What are your folks' thought this year in terms of how you're going to do it, the training? I know that some of the commissioners, specifically Barbara, who is her background as a teacher, had wanted to be a little bit more involved in the training in terms of some of the information that was given out to the audience.
We used to assist a lot of it.
So, but I think she's the only one that really wanted to give any more feedback on behalf of the commission.
We're going to use a lot more visual aids, a lot more pictures. We've considered doing a very overall training session, and then for maybe an hour, and then after that go into more detailed training when it comes to split precincts. We went back and read all the feedback and went over what were the issues last year, and they were confusion over split precincts. So maybe even splitting people up if they have a split precinct or not, because they don't really have that issue with the state. We've decided not to transmit results from the polling places this year. We're going to try it. So not dialing in, which will be a big relief when it comes to training. So basically they're just going to pack up their stuff, come straight here. We're going to use this as the drop-off location again, and hand us their card, the card that comes in the AccuVote machine. 75% of the cards were transmitted here anyway because no one could dial out. There's just such a big problem with that. Hooking the cord up, dialing out, it's a pain. So we're going to try that. So that eliminates that entire process that we're having to train. So those are kind of the things that we've discussed. Amanda went to the training for the state this last year. So she has a lot of great ideas, and we've taken their visual aids to use. So it's going to be different, for sure. We haven't discussed how the commission's going to be involved in a different way, but everything's open to discussion. Our main goal is that there's not the confusion when it comes to split precincts, because there was a huge issue with precinct 535 last year, and that's not going to happen again. This year there's going to be color-coded ballots to the maps they use at the polling places.
Nice.
So when they go in, you have this section and you match it with this ballot. So there's going to be a lot more visual cues versus number. So it'll be number, visual. So we've made a lot more steps for training.
I think probably last year the commissions, and specifically what Marla was talking about, and I think that we all noticed were some of the, and really it wasn't such a big issue, I think, and unless Jean, Norma, you and Jim, you can speak to this, were the, maybe just a couple of the precincts where the people in charge didn't sign some of the information, the envelopes or the register, and that seemed to be a real issue. But I think that's something that we can share with you, and I think that could be maybe clarified. The only other big issue was on the envelopes, where the top section, where it talked about if you were I forget now exactly, but it talked about whether you were a resident over 18.
Are you over the age of 18? Are you a resident and have you moved within the last 30 days?
And those consistently being not checked, and as a result are having to reject them. Because
yeah, but if you don't check those, that doesn't mean that it doesn't pass. If you go and look in the database and they didn't move in the last day and they are registered and they do live there, you can't reject their ballot.
Okay.
So there were rejected ballots that should not have been. If there was more thorough research that needed to, there was a lot of human error in ballots that were rejected that we figured out afterwards when people would come into the office. So there needs to be a lot more involvement. I figured out between, I guess myself, I take that responsibility on myself, but I didn't know the process last year. It was my first election. So understanding the code to the manual, there was things that don't match up. I mean, in the manual it said the clerk's office appoints the election commission. We don't appoint the election commission members. That was in the manual. So we went through and changed things. There's a lot of inconsistencies. There's chair members there's people on the election commission that have done things one way the entire time they've been here, and they've been on here for years, and they've done it one way, and they've started to think it's code, and it's not code. It's like, I think that we need to check the code constantly, over and over. Is it a mindset or is it municipal code? And that's stuff that we noticed last year because people are coming in and saying, my ballot got rejected, why? And then I look at the envelope and it's like, who says the envelope is code? So a human created that envelope. So we need to ask ourselves, is this code or is this the envelope? Is this code or is this something I got in my head? And this is not pointing blame at anyone. This is just something I think we all need to think about. And then just being that VREMS system, the voter registration database we use, is not user-friendly. And last year we figured out you really have to know how to use it to search people's names, because it doesn't just easily tab through people's names. If you look up their address, and Shaylin was teaching me this, if you look up their names in different ways, we found people that you couldn't find just initially. And they were registered voters, and their votes shouldn't have been cast out. And it's embarrassing when you figure that out in front of them at our counter.
Yeah. And one of the things I want to mention too is we had our chair and our co-chair last year had been the chair and co-chair for hundreds of years. And we, as a commission, the rest of us, really didn't have a lot of voice in, I mean, we did, but they ultimately made the
And they were
decisions.
with an elections person that had been there for a long time too.
And
so
hopefully this year we'll be able to work through some of these, I think, a little smoother. I just bring up that issue because if Barbara, if you guys are willing to let her be a part of it, if she still feels strong about it, I don't think honestly that we need to, but I'll leave it, you guys can talk with Barbara and see how, if she really needs. I do think, I agree with Jacqueline, I do think that there's a lot that we can do where it isn't in there, that we won't have the same issues.
There was other things. I have an issue with, you have the canvas, you've thrown out all these ballots, and we haven't you haven't really, I mean, you try to call people. When you realize
We used to be
they're,
that way years
when
ago.
you
We used to
realize,
be more lenient, then we
Yeah.
got strict again, and more
when you
rules.
realize you're throwing out someone's ballot, you try to call.
That's right.
But
That's exactly
really,
right.
we haven't notified anyone, and then you have the canvas, and you say, I've thrown out 50 ballots,
See, we used to call
You
them
can
and bring
appeal
them
it,
in
but
and have them corrected.
who knows,
The
you know,
envelope.
what are you gonna have,
Yeah.
all 250,000, well,
Yeah.
only 20% of that, show up,
Yes.
did my vote count?
Yeah,
I wanna
hate that.
appeal it, they don't even know. But there's such small time windows.
I'm glad you
Could you
did
even
that.
feasibly get letters out to them?
It's just 10 days off. And some of the other concerns that you brought up with signing the precinct registers and filling out those envelopes correctly, we've moved to include highlighters in all of the training supplies, and the election workers will be instructed to highlight the area that the voter needs to sign, just as another
Exactly what
way
they did, and they all got signed properly.
to remind them, and they know where to sign, because that's another confusion, is people don't sign in the right spot. And then we found too that highlighting the envelopes where the election workers need to fill out and where the voters need to fill out might assist in the process.
It
So we
does.
might look at a way to highlight those, or maybe put stickers on them, something to make it a little bit more clear, since that there was a little bit of problems with that. But it's something that, as the clerk's office, that we've been addressing on ways that we can enter it into the training and assist.
Increase
voters.
accuracy.
Yeah.
Can that be done when you guys make the envelopes? Because a lot of the workers don't catch that in their training, that if you highlight, make sure people understand.
That's the
what
thing
they're-
is,
See?
so
And they
many
don't.
envelopes were pre-printed.
Yeah.
There are boxes and boxes and boxes, and until those, I mean, it's a shame to go and print hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, I mean, thousands of dollars more of envelopes until we get rid of those. So,
But
I don't
it'll-
know, it's a toss-up.
It'll be something that we'll look at when we
Oh, when
get
they're
to
redesigned.
Highlight them all
Ugh.
for you. Spend days in doing that.
Do you see, you know when you walk into the elections conference, that first wall is completely, I mean, up to my head in boxes? Those are all those
I
envelopes.
saw that at the end today.
And we've discussed how
Ooh.
counterintuitive they are, and that's,
Yeah.
we think, a lot of the reasons there's problems with the envelope being filled out is just because it's laid out so terribly. It's not prioritized, it's, yeah. So we'll
Go
address
like
that as
this.
soon as.
You're filling it out.
Will Alice and I be trained before we do this?
It's OJT.
Yeah, and you guys will try. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
It just seems complicated, but it's not.
Well,
Yeah.
because I don't want to
That's
dread
right.
their ballot that
Yeah.
it sounds like
Yeah.
that's a problem.
Yeah, no, it's OJT.
You'd be surprised.
I'm not gonna,
Understand.
so,
Trial
but,
by fire and
yeah, but we don't,
Something
Well, there's
we
usually
should
more than
consider
one opinion.
RIMS training.
What's that?
There's usually
Whoever,
more than
if,
one
if,
opinion
at
and
least
one
two of you, I
ballot
think,
is
don't you
being
think?
looked at.
Yeah.
But more than.
Get trained
It's
Well,
not
that's-
on the voter
Throw it out.
registration
Yeah.
system.
we insist on it because we tried to get Ethel and Evelyn to train either myself or Barbara, and I got a little bit of it, and that was it. Barbara didn't get any from them.
If you don't know how to use that,
So we were actually gonna come to you before, so that, but I wanna wait till Barbara gets back, and then the two of us come in and get some training.
I would
from you
say-
guys.
I would-
But if somebody else wants to, and
I would,
maybe as a.
whoever's the most comfortable with computers,
Mhm,
volunteer. Whoever wants
Yeah.
to sit in front of it,
yeah.
and whoever is more comfortable with research and computers, volunteer.
Barbara for sure, and she's comfortable with it, she definitely wants to do it. Anybody else?
Skills with
Steve,
computers.
Jim?
Yeah.
You would like
I'd like
to?
to.
Okay.
Okay.
So
I think
why?
a number of people too, because then you can check and balance each other, because if you don't know what you're looking at, you don't know if they're doing it wrong. And
It's
so-
not a bad idea to train all.
Why not? Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
thinking that's what it sounds like. Maybe
Do
we
it in
could
two
all
separate
do it.
trainings.
Yeah, yeah.
Good idea.
And then, if you guys are comfortable with it, I think for the first batch or so, like a first portion of the people that you look up in BREMS, if I could be down there and just making sure that the process is going smoothly, if you have any questions, I think that would help.
How long of a time do you think it would take? Do you guess? What do you think?
A few hours, I would say.
2 or 3 or 4?
We could probably get it in 2.
2, optimistic. Okay. All right. I forget exactly when Barbara's going to be back. Would you ladies like to be trained?
I think, may I just really encourage all of us to be trained, even the ones that aren't quite as comfortable with the computer. It's still a good idea for us to have an understanding of the computer.
I agree with that.
And so
It wouldn't hurt.
it wouldn't hurt any.
And then if it'd be helpful, I can try and put together a list of key things that you do in VREMS and how to navigate, so you have a cheat sheet kind of
Right.
put next to your computer. Because we have a manual, but the manual from the state is pages and pages and pages of stuff we don't use. Where if I can make it more concise to what you guys will use on a regular basis, I think that'd be good.
I also know that some of us are not comfortable with the computer, and I'm not going to force everybody to learn it. So if there's some of us that don't want to, it's okay. You know, I think the rest of us can.
That's why there's 7.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's why there's 7. So not to feel pressured that you have to know the computer, but I think if the majority want to, that's okay too. Okay. All right. Okay.
I'm going to be gone in February. Okay.
I have a question while I'm thinking about it. Is everyone comfortable communicating with email?
I don't have a computer, but my daughter look up me, but she's gonna make me
Okay.
start doing that. My grandkids said, "You're gonna do it, Grandma."
If you're speaking of email, then my email is incorrect.
Like it's another addiction in my life.
What is your,
It's just about like that, except for it's gci.net, so it's cabo@gci.net.
GCI.net. Okay. Thank you. Because that's really our primary way of communicating.
I'm gonna do it.
Okay. This is, there's a, yeah, in that.
Study searching this. And I do all in my head. I'm gonna start using it.
Are you finding good things in there?
I'm afraid of being an addiction. Now, but I think I love it once I get it.
do you know where in here that is?
The contact?
No, yeah,
Oh.
contacts.
I don't know what tab. Do you know what tab you put them behind?
Tab number 3.
That's where we are.
Tab number 4 then.
And if not, then we'll just keep going.
Keep
Yeah.
going.
Just
It's
keep going
in a
until
tab
we
though.
find-
It's in a tab.
What are you looking for?
The commission?
The election commission, yeah.
Oh, it's right at the beginning.
Right in the beginning.
Number 1.
It's in a tab, like a whole tab though.
Oh, 2.
Here, two, that's two. Okay, and it's everything, but it's GC.
It's at gci.net.
Oh, this is juicy.
Yes.
Since we start on the 11th, when would be, and we don't want to, we want to keep this fresh in our mind, when would be a good time for you folks to schedule the 2-hour VREMS meeting?
The 11th of March.
What do you think? The week of the 7th of March?
It's really gonna move to a challenge.
I think right prior to when you guys start would be best, because then it's more fresh in your mind before you start using it. If you aren't able to use the system right after you learned it, then you will
So after
not retain
training.
it.
We've got March the 11th as well. And then, so, what do you think? Well,
Well, what
You
days
don't-
work best for you?
You can't do it during the week we train the election
Should
workers.
be before that.
Maybe the week before the election or
Well,
something like
Yeah,
that.
you,
Yeah.
What, is this February or March?
this is March.
Yeah, well,
End of the
she's
month.
talking about,
Afterwards.
she's talking about doing it, you don't want to do it before we train the people at the chambers.
Why would they need to do it? Why can't they just do it afterwards?
Oh, afterwards?
Can't you do it after?
Sure.
I mean, you're not counting ballots.
Yeah,
There's no ballots.
okay. So, say the middle of March?
Yeah.
Middle of March? Okay,
So after the 15th?
After the 15th.
okay. How about the week of the 21st, which is, the 21st is about the third or fourth week?
Okay, so absentee in-person voting begins at City Hall on the 21st. So how about at the end of the week prior?
Sure. Say the 17th, 18th, 16th,
16th is free.
17th? March the 17th?
Okay.
What day of the week is that?
That's a
St. Patrick's
Thursday.
Day, whatever it is.
Yeah, 17th, 18th, or 19th,
Thursday.
something, somewhere in there.
Okay.
19th is Saturday, so I'd rather not come in on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh, fine.
Try to keep that.
17th or 18th is fine with me.
Okay,
It's
so-
Thursday or Friday.
So let's try to go for
We
there.
can do both of those because we have to do two trainings.
Two
I think
trainings,
two
right.
sections would be
Okay.
best anyways.
2 hours on Thursday and 2 hours on Friday. Is that okay for you?
And then I think there's no reason why if somebody went to the first training, if they feel like they should go to the second one, they can do both.
Okay.
What time?
What
though?
time?
Yeah.
Well, let's get back to you on that.
Thank
We'll
you.
email everyone on the
Okay.
time.
Yeah,
Okay.
we won't know till a little closer.
Is there anybody that would prefer a Thursday or a Friday? Doesn't matter? Anybody?
I prefer Thursday.
You prefer Thursday, so Jim, the 17th?
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't, the rest of us were.
Okay, well,
doesn't
then
matter.
we'll just, something might come up till then, that's all
Right,
right.
right. Just to give you some ideas. Okay. Okay.
So really, until that point, there's not a lot going on until training. And then if we need to have another meeting, it would be to discuss training, really.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah?
Okay.
Election Commission procedures.
That would really be if you wanted to go over anything specific in the manual, that's where I left that open.
I don't at this time.
Yeah, Ethel would sometimes read the manual, which can be kind of
Yeah.
dry and.
I suggest that since we had some revisions, go over it, you got new manuals, go over it. If there's anything, we can come back. Yeah, at this point, I really don't see.
I was just reading, the information you sent me. I guess this is a municipal statutes or code or something. And qualifications of members, it said, you shall not endorse or engage any political or campaign activity on behalf of any candidate for public office. Are we talking municipal or state?
Municipal?
I'm assuming municipal, but having been involved in politics, there's always, fundraisers and would you endorse me and that kind of thing. So when I read that, it doesn't specifically, I'm assuming since this is municipal, but, so we're talking municipal.
That's how we always operate. Like in my own
Yeah, I
job,
don't
it says
see
the same
where being
thing.
on a municipal election commission would, deny me from being involved in a state, but I just, it doesn't,
However,
I just
you
want
know,
to clarify that.
It's a real thin line, I would say. You just have to be real,
You
exercise.
use your discretion.
Yes. I would be real careful with
Yeah.
Because
that.
everyone's connected in some
Yeah,
way.
that's what I'm
Do
doing.
it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a real thin
Yeah,
line.
so, yeah. Okay.
I
Yeah.
take,
So-
You know, say someone's
Oh,
running
I
for
forgot
office,
this.
someone ran for office and you know they have aspirations to
Maybe
run in the
email.
legislature, blah, 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 then you need to quit associating.
But, yeah, so, not a good idea to be really visible.
Exactly, at least not around April.
Yeah.
You don't want anyone to ever question your integrity when it comes to their ballot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and so we've gone over the training meetings and dates, the training, so I don't see it. I have some questions about some of the staff that work here that are returning, coming back. Some of the ladies that work upstairs, are most of them coming back, the same individuals?
What are you talking
You
about?
know,
It's the by mail board,
uh-huh.
Oh,
Are they-
Sandy.
as far as I know, I haven't called her personally.
Okay, good, because I know last year she kind of thought maybe she was
I
kind
think she might do it for us.
I'm hoping, I'm
We've
hoping
got our
to.
fingers
I think
crossed,
we've
too.
got great support staff here. I have to
I mean, I
tell you.
want her to come back.
Yes, definitely.
So,
So with these folks and the other staff that come in and work temporarily during the elections, it makes our job a lot easier. And it's wonderful. I mean, in terms of integrity, you can't, so that's why I wanted to know if they were coming back.
Yeah, we have
to.
Pamela. Now Pamela, the person who did recruiting, is not coming back. Yeah, we have a new recruiter. But all the chairman letters have gone out, all the polling place letters have gone out, so everything's on track.
And at the senior center, did they make any changes there?
Not that I know of.
Okay. This is just my own personal curiosity. Luby, who used to work here, ran for something. Did she get elected? I wasn't here. No, she didn't.
State House.
Oh, no. Good. All right. That was just my curiosity. Okay, I don't have anything else.
Does anyone else have anything?
Do we have any other? Yes.
Oh, I just wanted to make a comment that anyone who's called me from here, and anytime I have called here, which hasn't been that much, it's like a breath of fresh air. A voice answers, and they say, "How may I help you?" And it's kind of like, no, don't press 1, don't press 2, if you want to speak Spanish, you know, whatever. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. And, you know, well, would you connect me to someone? Oh, and who may I say is called? I got Yolanda one day when I knew Yolanda, and then she said, oh, Alice, how are you? But anyway, but each time I've called, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, and then I think I called the state for something here not too long ago, and it was, you know, the same old routine, and it's just, I just wanted to pass that along because it's such a nice feeling to call here and have someone answer and act like they're actually interested in helping you get to the right place. And I thought, it's great. So you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It says establishing the next meeting. Is there a next meeting?
Not until we meet in March for the training, and
Okay.
then after that, then we.
So we show up at a couple of those, at
Yes.
least. You don't have to be at every one,
No.
but maybe a couple.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be a good idea, kind of get an idea of, well, you've worked a polling place, but I would suggest coming to one. We introduce you to everyone and tell everyone what the commission does. Then they understand the importance of accuracy and absentee question balance.
And usually you attend all the trainings, and
All of them?
all of them.
Oh, you do all of them?
Because there's different groups that are coming in.
Okay, so it's good
And
to try to get to all
so
of
it's like
them.
meeting new people every time, and so they need to know who we are, and, yes, all of them.
Okay, well, that's your
Okay.
decision.
Yeah.
So there's 4 of them.
Yeah, and honestly, unless you have any reason to stay, I'm very flexible too. Unless you have any reason to stay, and I know the municipality doesn't need to pay us to be there, so if you don't need to be there, stay. You don't need to stay, but if you're there to introduce yourself so that they put a face to a name, I'm okay with if you need to leave, and you can stay
Because
there.
it's long.
It is, it's usually like 2-3 hours.
Having been
Um,
through 25 of them.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So come in, You can introduce yourselves at the very beginning, and if you need to leave, I'm okay with that. You don't have to stay. Just, I want to let you all know that.
Can we still work this election at the polling place as a commissioner or not?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be.
We're busy here.
Oh, during the election?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That's a big day.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of coffee.
Okay, I'll have to know.
Yeah.
You hear all day election?
Oh, yeah, till
You-
very
We're
late.
here days before.
Yeah, we start a week before the elections, we actually about the week before. And I guess we're gonna establish that
When you get a good bulk of, when the absentee ballots start coming in, when you get a substantial amount of them, then you start working.
and we won't know that until, we won't know that for a while, but I'll let you know exactly the day. But count on clearing your calendars a week before the election.
Okay.
Because that's kind of, in those days is when we're gonna get started.
And then how about after the election?
And we work all day, usually, it's an all-day, 8 hours.
Right.
The week before, and then after the elections, we work for another.
Pretty heavy
about-
schedule right after.
Yeah, 2 weeks. And we also
You work up to the
sometimes-
certification of the election.
Just 10 days after.
About 10 days, yeah.
Which is a Tuesday. The election. And that's covered pretty heavily in your manual,
Okay.
Canvas.
And the certification this year is April the 19th.
I saw that.
And then, when we, at the end of all, we present the, just to give you an idea, at the end of all this, we present our report to the assembly, the municipal assembly. And at that time, we're all there also.
It's a document, you all need to sign it. It's sometimes a
Uh-huh.
struggle to get everybody's signature. And yes, it's a good idea if you're all there.
We present it to the assembly at the next assembly meeting.
And do we know when that is?
The 19th.
Oh, that is the
The
name.
19th.
Okay.
I feel like I skipped something, I forgot what it was. Oh, well, yeah, the training, you don't, I don't think they need to be there
The whole time.
the whole time. But do show up for every one of the trainings. Jim, you had a question.
That was my question about, do we need to be at each one?
Oh.
It sounds like you'd like that, Maria.
Yeah.
At least to be introduced and
Uh-huh.
then.
And then if you have the need to stay, you're welcome to stay, but if you don't have a need to stay, you can, by all means, you don't need to stay. I more than likely will. Barbara may want to also. But other than that, I don't see that anybody else needs to. Is that okay with you guys? Yeah?
Perfectly fine.
Okay. All right. We used to have to stay, but I don't.
We used to participate more. We used to be
Yeah.
involved more.
Yeah.
It shows a nice present.
Gee.
This is totally nothing, but plenty of rubber bands. Last year, it seemed like we were constantly struggling to have plenty of rubber bands.
Gotcha.
Gorgeous.
There were a couple kinds that we needed.
Yeah,
Or they're so old, they snap at us.
yeah.
It's always getting snapped. Yeah.
And that's something that we changed last year too. In previous years, they've done an inventory of the supplies right before the election. So then we're working with a short timeline on getting all those supplies. Last year, we started doing the inventory directly after the election. So anything that was used up, it's fresh in our minds, we know exactly what we need, order it, and then it's ready by the next election. So we'll try and have like a list for you so that you can fill out what you need for the next one, and then it'll be taken care of for the next year's commission.
Which brings to mind in your manual, you guys have built a list into the manual of what you use, but I don't know if that's still up to date. So you might want to reference that and tell me, and I can
Bring my
change
old
it.
supplies. If they need anything, they come and ask me. Even rubber bands, I was getting ready
I
to
didn't
start.
notice food on the list, but
Yeah, one of
one of the things probably everyone who's worked has experienced is that sleeve that you put the ballot in. It's way too long, and if people don't pull the thing out, you know, they're standing there. You
It's
know,
a
trying to get that
constant
thing to
complaint
catch.
every year.
If the sleeve were shorter, so the ballot top stuck out, you know, an inch,
You know, we could chop it off ourselves.
you could maybe chop them off, you know.
No, it's,
And look, I don't, you know, I know it's a privacy thing, so I don't know how much of the top of that ballot, you know, but when the ballot, they put it all the way in, and then you know, well,
Right, it's a
they're like
complaint on
this.
every
Well, you have to
single
pull it out,
form.
so then somebody will pull it out a half an inch, you know, and finally, you almost have, you know.
And we actually have, the state got rid of their shorter ballot secrecy sleeves. So when, like last year, we had a smaller ballot, and we used those smaller sleeves, which didn't solve the problem because it's a smaller ballot for the smaller sleeve. But if we go back to a larger ballot, we just use those smaller sleeves.
If you use a smaller sleeve, so that when you know, you put it in the machine, it's not a big thing, but I know it's.
no, it is a big thing.
It's just an
Everyone
aggravation
complains
because
about it.
probably
Yeah. Well, it
one
slows
in,
up.
certainly 1 in 20 will stand there, you know, or 1 in 15, you know, and you almost want to say, please just take it out and put it in. I'm not looking, just put your ballot in.
Just put it in.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that is a good thing, because you're right, it is a complaint that they hear all the time, so yeah.
That
use
sleeve,
a
the
short
sleeve
for
is
the
something we
long
talk
ballot.
about at the precinct level and, you know, state and city, and it just doesn't catch. If you know, if people just conscientiously stick it way down in there. Anyway, little thing.
Okay, all right. Good. If there
Yeah, I
are-
don't know the size of our ballot this year yet until there's a work session on ballot props or actually bonds, this Friday. School board bonds.
What are we anticipating for this election, come to think of
I
it?
have no idea yet.
Okay.
I mean, I can tell you how many seats, 6, 2 school board, and I can't remember how many WRSA seats. There's millions, but not millions.
Okay, all right.
35, dozens.
Okay. Okay, if there are no other questions, comments, anything, then we'll adjourn this meeting.